Yeah, he's matched on Johnson, Gardner Johnson here, and he just runs across her and he beats him.
Yeah, I mean he's getting beat every play, but on this one, did
Yeah,
it look like they were trying to get him on him or?
Rogers was on the other side. See, the interesting thing here, they had DeJean. This was what we call a 1-by-3 nub set. So what they did is they had three wide receivers to the boundary, the short side of the field. They had the tight end attached to the formation to the wide side of the field. That's a nub tight end when he's attached. So it's instead of 3-by-1 when it's just the tight end who's the single receiver, you call it 1-by-3. So instead of DeJean being on the side of the three wide receivers, they kept him on the side of the tight end. So obviously Vic Fangio had a reason for that. So what happened is you actually had a couple of things going on here. And then they motioned Tolbert across the formation to the tight end side. So DeJean picked him up, excuse me, Rogers picked him up, and then you were left with Gardner Johnson one-on-one on Lamb. So
Uh,
obviously Lamb's wide open here. Gardner Johnson did get beat here, and if this was just a good throw, it would have been a touchdown to Lamb.
what is an approach that would be a smart way to get to Jaden Daniels?
I don't think they're going to think that they're going to have a problem against that O line. I'm just giving you my opinion. Um, The tackles they're playing a rookie at left tackle, Brandon Coleman from Texas Tech, who most people, including myself, when I evaluated him coming out of college, thought he'd be better suited to play guard, but he's forced to play tackle. And he doesn't quite have the movement skills you ideally want to tackle. They're playing with a free agent at right tackle, Trent Scott. Um, and even on the interior, they're not that great. So again, I don't want to sit here and say, man, they're just going to run him over and they're going to sack Daniels 10 times. But I'm not sure they're going to view it as we have to do anything special. Certainly to start the game, Travis. If the game plays out that way, a coach like Fangio, who's been doing this for 100 years, is going to have a plan B.
And I'm just seeing if you're seeing the same thing I'm
Well, that's
seeing.
what he is. That's what he
Yep.
was with the Jets. That's what he is. They made a decision when they signed him and let Reddick walk that they believed that Huff could play 40 or 50 snaps a game. It's not turned out that way up to this point in time. That's what they believed. Hey, they were right about Zach Vaughn up to this point, and he'd never played stack backer before. But
Yep.
anyway, to get to your point, Frank, I
Yep.
mean, they thought obviously that he could play, in a sense, be their Reddick, that he would just fill in that role, because they didn't want to pay Reddick more than they would have had to pay Huff. And Reddick's 30 years old, and the history of 30-plus-year-old pass rushers in the NFL staying at that level is not very good, and every team does that kind of work. Okay, so they paid Huff, who's younger, and over the last 2, 3 years, if you look at his pass rush win rate, granted he was only playing 20, 25 snaps a game, it's probably top five in the league. I always make the analogy with baseball that if you're looking for a free agent and let's say a guy's on a team and he's the seventh place hitter and he hits 30 homers and knocks in 90 runs and you sign him, you can't bat him third or fourth assuming he's going to do the same thing.
I remember thinking I was kind of frustrated how they were able to do like maybe some delayed handoffs or draw plays. And then, once what's his name? Zeke fumbled it. It seems
Right.
like whatever their run defense did to tighten up was really worked.
Well, they had some success running the football. There was a 19-yard run where, and again, see this, the thing about the run defense is normally, there's not a lot of mystery. I mean, teams can change fronts, they can move their linebackers. There's things you can do tactically depending on what the particular run scheme is that you're facing. But sometimes it's guys, just getting beat. Like, for instance, I don't know if people remember the Dowdle 19-yard run in the second quarter. N'Kobe Dean was clean in the hole. That's his play to make. He's got to make that tackle clean in the hole. But, sometimes that happens in the NFL. I This was a game where I didn't think Jordan Davis played well at all. And for the most part, I don't think he does play particularly well based on tape.
Is it him?
Jalen.
Is it the coverage? Is it the routes are too long? Is it the line, or is it a combination of all three?
Well, it's always a combination. Sacks and interceptions, you always have to look at the individual plays. So, for instance, there was a split sack on the first possession by Lawson and Odigizua. That was on Hurts. He had Smith on the outcut. He didn't turn it loose with the needed timing. and he got sacked. Now Odigizua drove back Jurgens into the pocket, and Wheat actually drove back Becton, but that ball had to be out. That was the design of the play. You hit your back foot, you throw the ball. He didn't throw it, so he got sacked there. Then I think the next play, it was 2nd and 20. He got sacked by Overshone. Overshone just beat the block of Gainwell. He just basically ran right through him, and Jalen didn't have a chance. So you have to look out at each. I mean, I could go through each sack, but just the bottom line is some are on protection, some are on Jalen. But it's rarely ever the routes in a sense because pretty much everybody runs a lot of the same routes. It's the Eagles aren't running routes that no one's seen before or that are unique to the Eagles.
Potentially Jordan Mailata coming back, what will that do for the Eagles offense as far as maybe how they'd like to attack the Commanders defense?
The larger issue, Chris, is the hope being that they don't have to help Mailata, that they can get either a back or a tight end as a primary route runner, so they don't have to help him. Because as soon as you have to chip, or plus it also helps formationally, because now you maybe don't have to put a tight end on that side, so now you can do more. It increases your options big time in the pass game. When you do not have to help your tackles, your options in the pass game go up exponentially. But I will say this. The Commanders have a really good D line, and they play 9 guys who get meaningful snaps. 9 guys, and they're good.
I wanted to ask what you thought of the linebackers as a unit and then both individually.
Yeah, well, I got my bromance still working with Zach Bond. He's playing really well. I think Dean's playing well too. I thought, I made the point that in my notes, I'll read it. I said Bond continued to show higher level key and diagnosed traits with a quick downhill trigger, hitting gaps in the run game with aggression and velocity. I think Bond, I'm sure you guys just watching the game saw it. Bond's playing at a really high level. I thought Dean was really, really good rallying to the ball in underneath passes because obviously the Cowboys did not have any meaningful intermediate or downfield pass game. I think that they're playing well. I think Dean's improving in areas he needs to improve in, which is pass defense. And Bond's played to me at a high level all season.
On the pass from Jalen, the interception, was he late? What is your thoughts on that pass? Should have been thrown, should have gone to someone else. What do you think about that pass?
Yeah, I can tell you, I made a note of it. Let me note. I can still see it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, to be honest, it was a better play by Diggs than a bad play by Hurts. Because when Jalen dropped back, he saw the seam, he got her down the seam basically wide open. And he saw, I'm sure, Diggs initially expanded to the sideline, and I'm sure he thought, and again, this all happens, I'm talking it now, this happens in a millimeter of a second, but you're an NFL quarterback, so this is what you see. But my guess is he saw Diggs expanding to the sideline and felt like that was a clean throw.